Right, the recording has started. It is now 16 past. We have enough of us to make a meeting. So, welcome to the Promotion and Events Committee meeting on today, the 2nd of March, 2021. Please be aware that all meetings are recorded and will be made available to the public on our YouTube channel after the meeting has taken place. Your participation indicates your consent to being included in the meeting recording. Now, we are all on our best behaviour at the planning meeting you'll be relieved to hear, and I'm sure
they did well.
that will continue in this meeting. Right then, so a public participation is first. I can't see anyone who is not part of this committee or here to support us. If I've missed anyone, please let me know.
No, there isn't any members of the public there, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen. Right then, so we have apologies for absence. Or the roll call, please, Karen. We're looking very thin on the ground, but I think we have enough to make a meeting.
We do. Let's start off with the roll call. So, starting from the top, Councillor Pitt.
Hello.
Councillor Johnson.
Hello.
Councillor Banks.
Present.
Councillor Speed. Absent. Councillor Caroline Green, we do have apologies for this meeting with valid reasons. Councillor Thorpe, we also have apologies for with valid reasons. Councillor Presland.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Councillor Poodle. Okay, absent. Councillor Davies.
Present.
And I think I've just seen Councillor Speed. Emma, are you there?
Yeah, present.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, everyone.
Complete.
Wait, we're not too bad after all. I was a little bit nervous for a moment there, but we got
we're okay.
Enough for a P&E meeting, to be sure. Right. Good stuff. Okay, so does anyone have any declarations of interest on anything on the agenda? Nope. Lovely. Okay. Moving swiftly on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of February 2021. Does anyone have any comments as to the accuracy of those minutes? Okay, let's take that as.
Happy to propose them.
Thank you very much, Delphine, and I'll second that. So all those in favour of accepting the minutes?
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that looked like everybody. Anyone against or abstaining?
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Right, let's move on. So attachment 2. So agenda item 4 is summer events. Members to note the officers' reports and consider any recommendations. So attachment 2 you have in your agenda pack. I read this a few days ago and I hope to read it again today to refresh my memory, and I haven't managed to, but Karen, would you like to speak on this agenda item?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much.
It was previously resolved by this committee to cancel the Armed Forces Day and charity Dragon Boat events, and that was recommended to full council. Full council, however, agreed with the Armed Forces Day decision because that event is scheduled for June and is a date set in stone, so can't be changed. However, the charity Dragon Boat events, they were unsure because the government had just literally released their new roadmap out of lockdown. So it was coming back to this committee to review as to whether that decision should still stand to not continue with that event. And this is the report to support that after we've had some discussions, Katie, myself and Ben, and I can see that Katie's now joined us. Hi, Katie.
Hello. Sorry, I'm just jumping from meeting to meeting this evening.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Katie.
Glad you got here at just the right point. So I've just given the background on why this item's come back for the charity Dragon Boat race. I don't know if you want to take over on the actual report, Katie, and the decision that we're going to stick with as one of your events. I'll hand it back over to you.
Sorry, I went back on mute there. Yes, so the report was included as an appendix, wasn't it, with the agenda?
Yes.
I mean, myself, Councillor Pitt and Karen, the Deputy Clerk, we discussed this last week. I mean, my feeling and my recommendation to you is that the decision remains to not hold that event this year for a number of reasons. I mean, obviously, firstly, the date of the 21st of June is a target date. It's not guaranteed. And I appreciate the event was held, was due to be held in August. However, the main requirement of the event is that businesses participate and community groups and sporting groups. And at this moment in time, our ability to recruit and sign crews up is very limited with people not, committing. And, if we are going down the route of committing to an expenses with an events company, there's obviously a risk that event would still have to be cancelled and not viable. The event, historically, we've always had to have 21 crews to make it a viable event. And it has, even in previous years, it's been quite difficult to get to that number. So, that is my concern this year, financial loss and, inability to get to that. I also personally feel that with the town centre looking to reopen from April, that this summer, smaller scale activities, markets and events that we've already discussed should really be our focus, to aid recovery of our town centre and, businesses that have been closed for several months, to really sort of organise activities that's going to encourage footfall into the town centre and really boost the vibrancy of the town. Obviously, we've got other things in the pipeline. We have the market entertainment, which is proposed to start in the summer. And we also have summer band concerts, and I've got several other projects that I'm sort of exploring and developing with other stakeholders at this moment in time, which I can share with you as well this evening.
Thank you very much, Katie. So I think the main reason this came back to this committee was that so we made a recommendation to cancel at the last P&E meeting. At the full council meeting, because it was a recommendation as it's a change to our budget that full council holds, because Katie wasn't available at the meeting itself, we thought it was worthwhile checking in with Katie to see if we still held the same position. Obviously we have that feedback from Katie now. So just before we debate it, has anyone got any questions for Katie or Karen, or is that all clear as to this specifically about the Dragon Boat Festival? Okay.
Sorry.
Go on, Delphine.
I was just going to say, thank you, Katie, very much for highlighting this. I actually, if we're going to discuss it, as I said, I agree with Katie. It does make sense, and also we need time for planning things to not happen straight away, as Karen and Katie will be able to testify to that. So I rather prefer that we concentrate on what we have, make the most of it. And certainly next year come back with a bang, with the time to do right preparation and things like that. So I would be in support of Katie's, and I would be happy to make it a proposal.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Caroline Green has now joined us. That's great. Thank you very much. Can I just check, Caroline, whether you have any declarations of interest to declare? By chat or by voice?
Yeah, I just had to get the right screen up. No declarations.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think Delphine has recommended we accept the report and we continue as previously agreed to not go ahead with the Dragon Boat race. Would anyone else like to? If you all agree, I don't think we need to go around the whole room, as it were. Just from my point of view, I hate cancelling things. Goes against my instincts, but I think in this scenario, and particularly great to have events back on this year. But I think in this case, because it's essentially an outsourced enterprise where we're appointing a supplier to deliver the whole vessel. Sorry, it's quite a bit of noise. I know it's hard to manage these things, but could you mute microphones if you're not speaking? That would be much appreciated. Thank you. I think that's disappeared. So with a heavy heart, I think that's absolutely the right decision that we don't go ahead with this event. I know there'll be a lot of disappointed people, but at the same time, it's a huge amount of work for something that may not happen and may still cost us a lot of money to deliver, not a lot at all. So I would second the motion to accept the report as it stands. Any further comments before we take a vote on that?
I was just going to say, I'm sure it's already been done, but because we're going to cancel this event, I think it would be good to promote even more to the public what we are going to do, so that they don't feel that they've been deprived in any way or we're doing less. But I think some type of, not a press release, but at least something to explain that those events are not going to go ahead for the reasons you stated, or whether we are looking forward to all of this coming up. So if we do some type of statement to the public, I think that will also very much help the cause. So yeah, that's my personal feeling.
I'm sure that would be in hand and doesn't need a motion, but I'm sure that our staff would be keen to do that. I think the other thing that we had at the previous P&E meeting, if I just check the minutes again, but we recommended that rather than just let them fund the budgets for these big events disappear into the general reserves, that we put them into an earmark reserve potentially to run something, when the situation allows. I think it would be great to have that option to look at later in the year. Obviously, putting on a big event is no small effort. So how that plays out will be remains to be seen. But let me just call up if I've got.
Sorry, it's me again.
Yeah, hang on a sec. So if it's okay, so I'm suggesting an amendment, I think. So essentially we're stating the same motion as last month, I think. So it's proposed and seconded to recommend to full council that the net costs for Armed Forces Day and Dragon Boat events are moved to an earmarked reserve with a view to putting on additional event (S) or on marketing activities later in the year if COVID restrictions allow. So I can't remember if that was accepted by full council last time, or because we were sort of sitting on the fence. But I think it was accepted for the Armed Forces Day event, as that had been cancelled. But I think we want to state that for the Dragon Boat event as well. So yeah, so I think just to use the same wording just for clarity, so we've definitely got that covered. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I was going to say, Chair, if you may allow,
please.
Is that also this year it would be a good idea because we're trying to become more inclusive and in all aspects for as many people as we can in St. Neots. As we're doing smaller events, it may be worth trial and error for some events to see how we can make it more inclusive for those who may be struggling a bit more, so that when the time comes and we want to do it for a bigger event, then it will be much easier. But it might be worth investigating what can we do as a council to make those smaller events more accessible as a way of try and error, so that when we, again, sorry, repeating myself, but when we come to do a big event, then we'll have an idea of what works and what doesn't work and how we can support our public and the tourist industry.
Thanks, Delphine. I think that's a really excellent suggestion. If you would like to come back to this committee or discuss with me and or anyone else sort of any ways that we can approach that, that would be really welcome. I think that, generally speaking, big events are not always the most comfortable places for people on autistic spectrum, just noisy and slightly chaotic events. But if there is anything we can do, then I would be very keen that we explore those. So thank you for that comment. Yeah, and I think if you have the capacity to come back with anything specific on that, or suggest a way that we can investigate that, like a direction to who we should talk to.
We will suggest. My first port of call would be obviously the head teacher of Samuel Pepys, and address them. One of the things, I'm sorry, it's slightly out of the agenda, but still relevant. I'm starting to look at how we can make our shops more inclusive for those with communication difficulties.
Yeah, sorry, Delphine. I think that is wandering off topic. It's a little bit too far for me. It's a good point, yeah. But let's come back to that in another meeting, I think, or outside of the meeting. I totally agree that it's worth investigating.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have covered summer events. So, we haven't had a vote, have we? So are you happy to accept the amendment, basically, just to restate the wording that we had last time round, just to be clear to full council that we are recommending to cancel both events, but we also propose to put the net costs. So I'll read it out again. It was proposed and seconded. So basically, we are recommending to cancel Dragon Boat event for 2021, and then or not go ahead because it hasn't really been this cancel is not quite the right word, is it? Because we haven't actually announced it yet. So not go ahead with the Dragon Boat event. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job for the minutes, really, am I? To apologise. And then it was proposed and seconded to recommend to full council that the net costs for the Dragon Boat event are moved to an earmarked reserve with a view to putting on additional event (S) or on marketing activities later in the year if the COVID restrictions allow. So basically, it means that the money doesn't disappear. We've got a fund with the capacity to look at how we might want to spend it on events. Karen is very kindly typing into the chat, which I hope will give a bit more clarity on that. But is everyone clear about what we're voting on? Is it about clear, Karen?
Yep.
I mean, if Karen's typing it, I don't want to like jump the gun and like have all that effort for nout.
It's just combining the two together into one resolution because they've already agreed the armed forces event, and that communication is going to go out. So I didn't want to include it for a recommendation to the next full council because it would delay our announcement by another month. So
agreed. Thank you. So recommend not to proceed with the charity Dragon Boat race, and that the event costs are earmarked with a view to putting on additional events on. Okay, that's the motion. Are you happy with that, Delphine?
Yes.
Lee, I'll second that, and then we are moving to a vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes,
agreed.
I think that was everybody, and myself included. Did I miss anyone that's either against or abstaining? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody. And thanks, Katie, for preparing that report as well. Okay, so the next one is Christmas lights. Members to receive a verbal update from officers on the transfer of the Christmas lights procurement to this committee. So I heard on the grapevine that the Ops Committee had recommended or voted to transfer the. I'll shut up because I was only heard on the grapevine. So please, if Karen or Katie has the lowdown on this, I'd be very grateful.
I'll start if you like, as I was at the Ops Committee meeting. So historically, the Christmas lights that decorate the town centre and the high street, the installation and lease/purchase of those has always sat with the Operations Committee. We did used to have different committee structures when that first started, and now that's not the best fit. So it was proposed, and the committee resolved and agreed that the lights installation and procurement would be moved across to the Promotion and Events Committee, so it becomes part of the Christmas event as a whole. So this committee now deals with everything from the events to the markets, promotion, the decoration of the town centre, the light installation, leasing, etc. It all sits under one, and the budget's moved across with it as well. So the £12,000 that is allocated for the Christmas lights now sits within the remit of this committee as well. So even more money to spend. So that was the outcome. A couple of days ago, Katie, myself and Ben had a quick catch up about the way forward with this. Obviously, we are in the beginning of March and everybody thinks Christmas is a long way off. In the planning world, it's not always the case. So we put a timeline together. I mean, Katie can jump in after me, but the general outline is just to let you know at this meeting, and then the plan is by May to be able to come back to you with some quotations, designs, scenarios for the committee to consider, and then with a view to awarding one of the contractors. It doesn't need to go out to a tender process because the amount is under the £25,000, so it can all be done within the committee, and it's all within your budget, so it falls completely under your remit. So the plan is to get some quotes from 3 suppliers, get some designs, bring them back to the committee, and we would like the decision on that to be completed by July if possible, in good time, so that the company has got the rest of the year to get everything in place for us. And it will also include a slight expansion on where the lights are going to go, a couple of additional streets, Cambridge Street and Church Street, and the trees as well. Their lights are in need of replacements. And I think that's mainly what we discussed. Katie's going to lead on talking to the contractors initially, so I'll hand over to Katie, if she's there, if she wanted to say anything about the process she's going to do when talking to the contractors. Or do you want me to carry on talking, Katie? Are you all right?
Yeah, sorry, like it's my children's bedtime, so yeah, hence this is real life for me. Yeah, so obviously I'm preparing a brief this month. We will go out to 3 companies. We will probably go out to the previous supplier and then 2 new ones to get a comparison. We've actually been recommended some local companies through other towns that have experience of using them. So we already have our wish list. And as Karen said, we're looking at expanding the area that the lights are covered in the town centre to go a little bit beyond, to cover in St Mary's and Cambridge Street. And then also the Priory Centre. I don't think you mentioned that, did you, Karen? We're going to see whether more can be put on that building to include that as well.
Well, I think I think we'd have to probably check with the community centres working group just to run it by them rather than us make the decision. Obviously, the outside plaza area is always decorated. Do you think it would have to go to the working group, Ben? I know you sit on that, or
I think I'm quite relaxed about that. I think the only thing that the working group doesn't know, and as soon as it does, hopefully the committee will know as well, is what the timescale and or otherwise of any refurbishment works at the Priory Centre. I'd be amazed if they had started by December, because I think there's a period of consultation and planning before anything happens. So the fact that I'm on this committee, I think we can, we'll manage it that way, and I'll raise it with
the heads up.
Chair, may I ask if it includes the provision, Katie, of a Christmas tree?
So we have historically sourced the Christmas tree separately, but we can put in the request, if it's more financially viable to do it, if it saves us money, then of course, we would include it with one supplier.
Because the trees we've had have been magnificent. Yeah. Thank you.
They're usually from Elvedon, so it's a separate agreement.
Sounds very Christmassy. Great, thank you very much, everybody. So I think, just to clarify, this is a 3-year. Is it a 3-year contract? Is that standard fare? This is what I understand has happened previously, that we've had kind of released the lights for a 3-year period.
Not necessarily. We can get various scenarios from them. I think that's the beauty of when you're starting from scratch again. Looking to get new suppliers on board, see what offers they can give us.
Great. Okay. And in terms of the brief that we give them, what kind of detail goes into that normally, or is that still to be decided?
So from my point of view, feel free to jump in if you need to, Katie, but the brief is obviously where we want the lights to go, an idea of the lighting that we're looking for, but obviously they can help us with that, and any technical information that we have that can help them. So, for example, Ian has done a walk around where the lights would go, so that we can tell them what street lights are available, power, access, but they would come out and do their own survey, obviously. So we'd give them a broad outline, but with their creative input as well. They do this for many other organisations and areas, so I'm sure they can give us some insight as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Has anyone got any questions or any general comments about? I think that if ever there's a time to kind of think critically about the lights, without wishing to cast aspersions on anything done before. If anyone's got to say, "Oh, it wouldn't be nice if it was like this," or wasn't like, now's the time to raise those thoughts rather than midway through the sort of the procurement process. Is any kind of guiding thoughts that anyone's got? Emma, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, are we able to have them hanging across the street like they were previously, or because of the incident, is that no longer allowed?
I don't know about the incident, but go for it. Yep, Katie.
2007, Ben, when they all came crashing down, but they were very large, heavy structures. We are going to ask the question, aren't we, Katie? We're just going to ask. They'll be given the layouts and as much site information as possible, and based on that, and obviously they will come out and have a look. They will be able to, tell us whether, we can have anything that's slightly different and drapes across, because technology's moved on, things are lighter. But we have to be mindful of our situation. Our high street's a lot wider than a lot of other high streets, so it's not as a simple a process for us to say Huntingdon. They've got a much narrower street, it's a lot easier for them to string things across.
Do you know, Karen? I mean, just quite a few years ago, but was it that the lights themselves fell down, or was it actually what they were attached to gave way, or was this going
What
back?
they were, it's what they were attached to.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, and it was quite traumatic actually.
So yeah, sounds it. I mean,
I think it was quite an old building as well. I think that was what it was. I happened to be sitting right where the light fell down at my desk at work, and I can remember it well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like we learnt a cautionary tale from that event. It's before my time, obviously. I think it's a good question from Emma. I think having it across the street would be great if that were practical, but obviously, first and foremost, we want to be safe.
Can I jump in, please?
Please do, Caroline.
Jump in. Yeah, I certainly agree with Emma. It always looked nicer when it was across. Now, I don't know how these things work, but if it isn't possible, is there some sort of laser thing that could go across to pretend that we've got something going across? I don't know. I don't know how these things work. But
That sounds amazing. I think lasers work best when there's some sort of smoke, like in the building. You've got a smoke machine and a laser, it's great. Without that, you probably would only see the laser as it hit another surface.
Well, or maybe I'm thinking projection or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But is there another way round it?
Okay.
I mean, projections are available onto buildings, and that is obviously something that we would ask them to guide us on. Again, if there's any suitable locations that we could project onto, what the cost would be. So we would definitely ask them about projections. I think Katie did mention that. They've moved on enormously over recent years.
Okay. Great. I think if I can kind of capture a general, if I am accurately capturing it, I think there's a kind of an interest in trying something new.
Yeah.
It's nice because I think having broadly similar lights year in year out, people kind of stop to notice them as much. If we could do something, a bit novel, I think that would be great. And just to kind of invite that kind of spirit when when our team approaches these companies to say, what could we do that's different to previous years, and just to see what they come back with. I don't think we need to do novelty just for the sake of it, but it would be nice to sort of mix things up a little bit. I think that would be. Is that reasonable?
Yeah,
I'm not going to take a vote on it, but yeah.
No, the three sort of key areas I've got down for Katie and myself. Is any across street lighting possible at all? Projections, suitable locations for that, and like you say, sort of new designs that are some way different from the previous years, like you say, so they
great.
Attract attention. I think that's the main areas.
Thank you, Karen. Delphine?
Sorry, Chair. I was just it's probably completely silly ideas, but obviously if we have the ability to every year to kind of change the lights to make it more interesting, which I really like the idea. And since if we're still going to work with the shops for them to make the windows all nice and Christmassy, is it maybe worth considering some type of themes going through the year so that the shops and the street kind of reflect something? It might be not possible, but I was just wondering if it's something that might be interesting to look at and consider. But it may not be possible. It may be a very silly idea, but it would be nice to have the shops and the street light working together to bring it all together. Just an idea.
It sounds intriguing, but I think I'd need to know what sort of themes roughly you're thinking about, you're imagining. I don't think I've pictured what you're describing yet.
Like Winter Wonderland, Christmas Carol, or there is something very Christmassy, but I don't know, but just an idea.
Okay. I think Christmas and wintry is obviously your standard theme for these things. I think for me, to invite the shops to do what they did this last Christmas and decorate their shop windows, I think that was a really great campaign, and we will do the same, I would imagine. I don't think we need to keep bribing them with £100 every year. I think they've had their £100, they can carry on. But I think if you have a specific theme, then do not necessarily now, but at any point feel free to share. But
no, it was just in case when Katie and Karen approach and this is mentioned that they have some type of things working together in something that it might be something worth considering. But to be honest, I don't even know if it's possible, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, I think the theme should be Christmas, unless we come up with a better one. Or a
Sounds like a
specific
good
one.
plan. Chair, can I just come back on
Please.
one thing that Delphine raised, which was changing the lights each year, the design of the lights. Obviously, you can do that, but that does increase your costs, because the longer you have a set design, the cheaper it becomes. If they're putting, you know, completely new lights in every year, it would make the cost higher. But we can, of course, ask for comparisons, just so that you can see the difference.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think when it comes down to it, I think we'll rely on yours and Katie's judgment as to how to discuss that. I think when it comes, you know, ultimately we've got a budget, which we know what it is, so we're looking to get the best value from it. And if it means having the same things for 3 years, but they're fantastic, rather than having something that's mediocre, but only, you know, like if we've got less budget, I think we want quality over novelty, probably. But yeah, just going back to the projection, I think like the Falcon's a nice kind of white colour, that would be quite a good building to project onto. Whether it is a location that could actually, you know, have a projector to put images onto it, is, I'm not sure, but anyway, that's a possibility. Otherwise, if you're projecting onto dark surfaces, the impact's not really very noticeable. But I think we'll leave that with the people who know about this sort of things. Is anyone? So Caroline's hand is still up, but I think that was from earlier.
No, it wasn't. It was up again.
Oh, it's up again. I do apologise. Please fire away.
Well, Delphine sort of touched on what I was going to say, and you've then said, no, you don't want to give out extra money for the shops, but definitely I think we should encourage them to do something. So maybe just a cash prize, and perhaps there could be an annual trophy that the winning shop wins. I don't know how things are normally done, but something to inspire them to take part a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's definitely we want to encourage it. I think that's a good call. I think we can come back to
prize.
that.
I mean, a trophy could have a trophy. We've had them for other things.
I mean, the glory of winning surely is enough in itself. But if a trophy will push a few people,
trophy is better.
They can display it in their window, can't they? And then, you know,
a nice certificate. Well, let's come back to that nearer the time. I think you know, I'm fully not just hoping, but expecting that we'll be out of lockdown by Christmas.
I hope so.
Let's hope so. But you know, I think the detail on what the Christmas, you know, the rest of the Christmas celebrations look like, we have got a bit of time. Obviously, the lights are in a different category because there's a long procurement process. But we'll definitely revisit the specifics of Christmas events nearer the time, or sort of midsummer, I guess. Okay, I don't think we need to take a vote on this. I think that's been really helpful. Just to have a bit of a chat about it, though.
Yes, so the timeline, just to confirm, the meeting at the beginning of May, we'll come back with the report and some designs and recommendations.
Brilliant. Is that our next one? Because that's not an April P&E meeting, as far as I know.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
This is the last one, so it will be the first week of May.
Lovely. I will look forward to it. Thank you very much. Let's move on to our final agenda item, I think. Yeah. So Farm and Craft Market Entertainment. So we appointed. So we kind of just discussed it and agreed to go ahead. We have the budget in this coming year's budget. We have a group that is going to assess the hopefully various groups that come forward with this. But I just asked if it would be possible to have a quick update on this. So over to, I'm guessing, Katie for this one.
Hi, Ben. Yes, I mean, because we only met last month and agreed it, I mean, there's not a lot for me to update you on at this stage. I mean, obviously, I've been working on the brief, and we spoke about, you know, potential groups that we would be inviting to take an interest and to potentially pitch for this opportunity. I mean, I've also been exploring with the district council about, you know, what is viable in terms of performances and licensing, and we've since had the roadmap announced. So, you know, from the 17th of May, I'll have to remember, but from the May date, that is when outdoor performances are permitted. So we agreed at the last time that we would look to do the performances from June, so we can potentially bring that forward now, you know, starting the second half of May to include the bank holiday in the late May market. So that's, you know, that's obviously a positive. I mean, there is some sort of question around how we sort of manage that space. And I've got meetings next week with County Council and with licensing at HDC, because they obviously have concerns about putting on events generally, not just for the market, but other things that we're talking about holding in that space. So I'm sort of in discussion about how we can agree a safe way forward that will benefit the businesses and obviously the market as well. So I'll keep you updated on that.
Sorry, Katie, do you mean there are concerns regarding social distancing or other concerns on top of that?
It's a congregation of people and social distancing. Yeah. So obviously you have to have a license, an entertainment license, to put on live music and performances. So that's what we're going to be discussing.
Great. That sounds really it's really reassuring that you're on the case with those already. So thank you very much for that. Has anyone got any questions or further thoughts? I mean, obviously it's in progress. Yeah, great that we can bring it forward a couple of weeks. Anyone, anything you want to throw in there? No, okay. Just one thing that came up somewhere that I saw, there seems to be a network or an association of buskers in Cambridge. There's a group that seems to manage them, so it might be useful to kind of be in touch with, or for the curators when they're appointed to be in touch with. I think for me, that's the kind of the area that we need to sort of tap into, because those are the sorts of entertainment that are kind of, it's not what you sit down for an hour. It's it's just kind of background. You might enjoy it for 15 minutes. And I think what we want is people to use this entertainment as an extension of visiting the market and, seeing friends and having a nice Saturday morning. But yeah, great to hear it coming together. So thanks, Katie, for your work on that, and particularly on the thorny issues of, surrounding licensing and social distancing, which are, pretty tricky to manage at the best of times, not least with this thrown into the equation as well. So thank you for that. Okay, has anyone got anything else on this topic? Or I think if not, we may be done.